Ward H. Bradish is from a small western New York town called Bainbridge. At the age of 19, in 1944, he was drafted into the United States Army for the medical detachment. This is his story.
1944, I was drafted, went to Oxford, New York, and got out of train, and there went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. I was shipped out to Camp Barclay, Texas. I took my training there, basic training. About the 14th, 15th week, they told a bunch of us out that we were going to surgical technician school in Denver, Colorado, at Fitzsimmons General Hospital. So we were loaded on the train. We went to Fitzsimmons General Hospital in Denver, Colorado. And we took further training in medical procedures with the mother. And then we were shipped out to Hospice General Hospital in Santa Barbara, California, and we took more training out there. At that time, we were due for a furlough, so we were shipped back, and I went back to Bainbridge, New York. After the furlough, I went back to Texas. When I got back, I'd be shipped out to California. So I went out to California. And in a debarkation port, and all at once they gave us an APO number, and they said we couldn't tell where we were, whether we were in the States or what. And then some of the sailors said, "Do you know where you're going?" And we said, "No." And they said, "Well, you're going to TBI. Well, where is that?" The China-Burma-India Theatre. We never heard of it. And sure enough, we sailed out. It's supposed to be secrecy, one thing you know, but people were up on the rooftops waving at us as we pulled out of Los Angeles. 1,000 GIs on this ship. We were all alone. And they switched us to 2 meals a day. Some of the guys threw off into a stinking mess. And every morning before daybreak, we would go to our special places in there. At that time, the Japanese belts were operating, and they generally attacked just before breaking in the morning, so we were ready. And afterwards, we would back down and wait around for lunch, or for breakfast. It was Navy stood up. You never sat down with the Navy for a bit. Long table that were about up to your chest. Stood there at 8. At night, you generally draw detail for dumping garbage. The garbage was dumped at night, so there would be no sign in the morning of your trail. We set a zigzag course. First thing, we had to cross the international date line and the equator. When you cross the equator, you're initiated. I had my shellback card, and I crossed the equator. The initiation line was you had to walk the canyon line. This was the point that you saw the Navy to say, pull the plank out, and now you go in this garbage. Then you had to get Davy Jones. It was the hairiest spell you could have in the Navy. Your spell was like to draw a flower, something that was kissing Davy Jones' face. We survived that. We left off Melbourne, Australia, and headed for the Indian Ocean. But one morning, there was a sub appeared. We thought we got hooked. And it was the United States stuff that American flag painted down to the side. It was about India. We always wondered why we didn't go into Calcutta, but Calcutta is now a seaport. So we pulled in Bombay. It took us quite a while from the harbor to get in. And the kids were out there and yelling for money, so we exchanged our
As mentioned before, my grandfather is from a very small town in western New York. Not surprisingly, the town is not known for its cultural diversity. So when my grandfather was first introduced to people from various countries while serving abroad, it was something that he definitely took notice to.
We came to this one river, there was no bridge over it. We said, well, how do we get across there? And we were loaded up out of the barge, and they pulled us across. There was a Chinese army in there, British army was in there, the Indian army was in there, there was an Australian army in there. It looked like a little United States, United Nations. And the British fed us. So I believe they had a hardtack left over from World War I, because the biscuit was hard. We soaked it up with a sort of a vegetable and gravy stuff. Well, it's better than not getting anything at all. We finally got up there, I don't know, we kept changing trains from one to another, and going further up next to the Irving Quarry. We're supposed to, I read afterwards, after about 10 years ago, we were supposed to have first class trains, but we had third class. And it was just hard benches, and no one was in.
My grandfather recalls one incident in particular where he and a buddy of his had direct contact with the natives of India. It was this contact that almost costed them both their lives.
Outfit. I was coming, me and my buddy were coming down to the 34th General Hospital. I used to be there for a while, and I get supplies. And I drove down, and he rode beside me in what we call a weapons carrier. And we got down to the 234th, got our supplies, and started back. And he drove going back about 30 miles away. And we were coming into this Indian village. And here was a mob of people, men, women, children, all souped up on marijuana and bamboo juice. That's fermented alcohol. And they start throwing stones at us and sticks. We had nothing to provoke them or anything like that. My buddy says, "You see that crank down on the floor?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Pick it up. The first one that steps on it will split their head wide open." I said, "Okay." I said, "How are we going to get out of this?" He says, "You just hang on." And we went down a little alleyway, and over there the meat hangs up on rafters on the open, the flies and everything with it. And our weapons carrier, the rack onto it was, so when we went through and knocked everything down, the old shopkeepers come out there shaking their, and the people started coming after us, throwing rocks and sticks at us. And we went down through the alleys one way or another. And first thing you know, we came into a roadblock. There were the MPs. We were glad to see them. Well, they asked us what we were doing there. Well, come find out, when we went through that village, about 15 minutes later, going down, it was put off limits to all LI personnel because they were going to have a demonstration. They wanted their freedom from Great Britain. And we were just in between. And they didn't hardly believe us, but they finally called the 199th Ordinance. And we had our dog tags on, gave our serial number, one thing or another. And they finally cleared it for us. And they said that we were lucky. And I think we were. And so we went on and got back all right. We told the fellows, well, they didn't hardly believe us, but they finally did. They heard rumors about it. The two GIs got caught in a demonstration down in the little village.
As my grandfather suggests, war is not this glorified experience that Hollywood depicts it to be today. Instead, my grandfather is left with memories of comrades passing away and being thankful that he survived.
Yes, it was quite an experience for me. Remember, I was only 19 years old, and I'd only been to one funeral in my life before I went in the Army. got over with it. It wasn't so bad with strangers that I didn't know, but if it was some of your buddies with the outfit, like I was with the 199th Ordnance Battalion, it kind of hit you hard, and you knew that somebody was going to get a telegram that either mother, father, sister, or wife, or girlfriend saying that the War Department, sorry to notify you that so-and-so is gone. But I lived through that.
In 1994, some 50 years later, after my grandfather's commitment to the United States Army had ended, he received a surprising visit from a comrade he had lost touch with at the start of the war.
He, 4 days younger than I. We went to basic training together, and then we shipped out to Denver, Colorado to Fitzsimmons General Hospital, and we took more studies, one thing another, and we graduated from there. We were surgical technicians. And then we went on to Hoff General Hospital in Santa Barbara, California, and further training. And then we came back to Camp Barkley, Texas, and laid around. And first thing you know, he was attached to some outfit, and he told me that his orders were hot. They were ready to ship out. They were going to attack some island, but I didn't hardly believe him, because I figured all the islands were taken. Well, Okinawa was not taken, and that's the battle that he was on. And about a week later, I shipped out, and I went to the China-Burma-India. We were about probably 1,000 miles apart, but neither one of us knew about it till after the war was over, and he came to look me up. And he knew I was living in Bainbridge, so he stopped, and he knew my street address, but the name was wrong on the mailbox. So he drove back up, and he stopped into a shoe store, and he said, "Do you know Ward Bradish?" The guy said, "Yeah." And he says, "Does he live on 29 South Main Street?" And the guy says, "No, I think he moved." "Well, where did he move?" Well, he says, "I don't know," but he says, "My sister-in-law is the town clerk. Just a minute, I'll call her, you can go down there." So my buddy decided to go down there. So he asked her where I lived, and she told him Masonville, just outside of Masonville on the Mormon Hollow Road. Well, I see this van go up and down with Michigan state license onto it 3-4 times. Finally, he pulled and stopped. And then he said, "Are you Ward Bradish?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "You sure?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "You're quite sure?" And I said, "Damn it, yes. What do you want?" And so then he pulled out his wallet, and he had this picture in of us 4 servicemen that crowded into a phone booth and had our pictures taken. And then it dawned on me. He put on weight. He was slightly bald, and it was Bob Bluschke. And that's the first time I'd seen him in 50 years. And we got acquainted, and we keep in contact with each other every year.
This past fall, my grandfather, along with his youngest daughter, her husband, and their 2 young girls, took a trip to Washington, D.C. to visit the newly created China-Burma-India World War II Memorial. Visiting this memorial conjured up an array of memories for my grandfather, both positive and negative. Memories that he had forgotten, but with the result of visiting this memorial, was once again able to remember. He is greatly appreciative to those who made such a memorial possible.
Oh, that was wonderful. Before they started that, why, Senator Bob Dole, somebody from the China-Burma-India, said that we'd like to have a monument dedicated to us instead of the Pacific. And he says, "That will be." Well, he had a little static about it. Different ones said, "No, they're in the Pacific." But Bob Dole was a finally got a monument dedicated to the veterans of the China-Burma-India Theatre. And there's the different people, like Franklin Roosevelt, the president, General Eisenhower, General MacArthur, and